Hi, welcome to another episode of the Out of Office Club podcast. I've moved again, as you can see. Right now, I am further south in Italy, close to Ostuni. I spent the last couple of days in Bari, which was really nice. Now I'm further south. I got here yesterday evening. Today's Monday. I'm actually doing a work exchange here, so I'm working and I get to stay here for free because of that, which is really, really nice. I'm feeling a bit slow and not as happy, I think. So, excuse me if you feel that vibe in this podcast, but the last week has been really nice, but also just tiring. And so I thought this podcast, I'll just give you realistic update on last couple of weeks, how I'm feeling, how everything's going, and give you some tips on what I kind of noticed and what I've been going through and how to deal with that. Because I know I'm probably not the only one who feels like this, especially when you travel full time. Because, yeah, of course, in all of my episodes, I talk a lot about what it's like to travel full time, what it's like to be a digital nomad, good parts, the bad parts, and I always want to keep it as realistic as possible and just tell you what it's like. And I know I've been getting questions and DMs from people about what I'm doing, how everything is going. So I thought now that I'm in a new place, I've had time to think, digest it all a little bit better. It is also time for an update, maybe a bit more personal update, and chat with you all about what my life's looked like. Because as you know, I was in Matera for the past month, and I guess it's time to admit that I went there because I met a guy. Am I proud of that fact? No. 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 Um, my friends will know this, but or maybe if you watched the episode about dating while traveling, you'll know this. I might have mentioned it in there too. Of course, my dating life is not great. I'm single. I've been in a couple relationships, some long, some short. But yeah, traveling while dating is just not very easy. So while I was in Greece, I met a guy from Italy who lives in Matera, and we got on really well, had a good time. So he asked me if I wanted to come and visit Matera. And I went. I went to Matera. And again, my friends know this, but this was last time I was dating. That didn't work out, and then I told my friends, okay, this is the last time I'm gonna fly for a man. Like, I'm not doing it again. Okay, I cannot, and I don't want to. Every time I meet someone, then have to go and fly to them for it then to not work out. And now I'm stuck in a different country. I've spent all this money on plane tickets. Because that's also, again, the tough part about dating while traveling. I'm the one who's so flexible, right? I'm the one who's got only a suitcase, who's got no permanent address, who brings her work with her. So I'm very often the more flexible one when dating or in a relationship. And that also means that I'm then the one who has to go and travel to the other person, which, okay, it's not smart, but I also in the moment don't mind because it's for me also an excuse to travel. But it does give me in a bit more tricky situations because then again, I am stuck in that different country when that date or that relationship doesn't work out, which has now happened twice already. Think of that what you will. So, but yeah, he invited me and he said, if you want, you can come to Matera, you can stay with me. So I did because I didn't have any plans. I'd never been to south of Italy. He was really nice, and I just really wanted to have that experience and go there. So I've spent the last month in Matera with this guy, who we're just gonna call the Italian. And it was really nice. I actually really had a good time. I wasn't sure how long I was gonna stay. I thought maybe a week or maybe after 2 weeks I leave, but I ended up staying for a whole month, We got along really well. Um, it's not serious yet, like it's not a relationship, but we're having fun. We're still figuring it out. But then last week I left and he dropped me off in Bari. And again, now I'm further south in Italy. And something that I have noticed, which has happened many times already, also with previous relationships, but also with friends, like it's just when you travel, something that a lot of people will know is that, of course, you move a lot. Every month, every couple months, I change places. That also means I very often meet people and then say goodbye to them. So I've really noticed that whenever I've been with a lot of people for a long time, or with people in general, even if it's just one person, and we then say goodbye, for the first day, 2 days, I really, really struggle. I feel incredibly lonely. I feel a bit lost. I just don't know really what to do with myself. I don't know what I want. It's hard to explain, but it almost feels like you've come off this high. You're doing so well. You're with all these people. You're feeling really alive. You feel inspired. You feel motivated. And then suddenly that all is gone and you're on your own again. And that for the first day or two, sometimes 3, is just really tough. Even though I love being on my own and I'm great at traveling by myself. And I want that alone time occasionally. But then when I have it after a long time, it can be a bit hard. Suddenly it hits harder or something that you're now alone again. And that's what happened this weekend. So the Italian dropped me off on Thursday. I got to my Airbnb. I really enjoyed, a night by myself again, which was really nice. And I had a good day. Friday, I already started to notice, okay, I have a bit less motivation. I don't feel as good. The mistake I made then is that I, on Friday, had booked a cooking class, which was lovely, surrounded by other people. It was really nice. But that night I did go out and I had some drinks. And I've spoken before about how I don't really drink alcohol. I didn't drink at all for a year and a half, just because I didn't feel like alcohol added to my life anymore. But occasionally I do go and I have a drink. And that was Friday, because already during the cooking class we already got wine, and then we got limoncello, and then I got invited by these 2 girls that wanted to go out for a drink, so I had a beer, and then I had April Spritz because it's really nice and it's very cheap in Italy, especially in the south. So I couldn't. I just really wanted to have a drink, and I had a really nice evening. I didn't drink much, but if you don't drink often or you don't drink much, even just 2 or 3 drinks, you're gonna feel that also the next day. So that was, I think, also a mistake, because then I woke up on Saturday with very little sleep, because I personally, when I drink, I can't sleep. So I'll be awake for hours, and then I'll get maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep before I wake up again. And then I'm awake. I can't explain it to you, but I cannot sleep. So, slightly hungover, on 3 hours of sleep, I felt so bad Saturday. Just, I don't know. I think it's like, I don't know, realizing you're alone again, or suddenly that loneliness hitting more. I then also suddenly get more anxious about having to do things on my own. So I had to figure out the train to get from Bari to Ostuni. And I've traveled the world by myself, right? I've gone to the other side of the world on my own. I'm fine. Public transportation is not that difficult. There's always someone to help as well if you can't figure it out or something is unclear, which it very often is. And suddenly I'm getting anxious and I'm getting nervous about having to figure out the train, and what am I going to do with my luggage, and I have to check out, and then, which makes no sense. Like, this is what I do daily almost. And I think it's just the shift again from having people to rely on and having that social bubble that you're in, to then suddenly having to do everything alone again and not being able to rely on someone. is then a bit difficult, which, yeah, it's a bit strange maybe. But so, yeah, but on Saturday I just felt awful. I was like, damn. And those are also the moments that I start doubting this whole lifestyle and if it's really that great and if I should just be with people more and settle down somewhere. But that usually only lasts a day or two because then I get back into my own rhythm and I'm like, oh no, but this is really nice. And now I'm here and I'm really happy to be here. The place is really nice. The people are friendly. I think it's going to be really, really good experience. But, and that's happened before where I would be somewhere and I would have the best time and I would love it. And I would meet great people. And then I leave and I suddenly feel sad and depressed and just off. And I think that's just what happens when you change your environment and your rhythm and just this safety that you've built up in those routines and people. They all leave and you have to start again. And that can be a bit tough. But then also after those 2 or 3 days, I generally start feeling a lot better again. I start feeling happier. I build my new routines. I meet new people just like here. And then slowly, like, I start feeling a lot better and excited again to have these new experiences and feel better. So yeah, my tips on that, I'm not sure because like I said, this has happened to me before and I've noticed it before and I know this happens and I do struggle with it every time a little bit. But I think the only difference is that now I know. I know for the first 2 days I'm not going to feel great. So I try and plan less work. When I do get these feelings and doubts, I also realize they're going to pass. This is just because I'm kind of shifting from one thing to the next. They won't last. I'm going to be okay. And maybe also then I on purpose go and seek out more social settings. So I think me booking that cooking class was a good idea because I got to be around people. I got to go out. I got to meet new people. And then on Saturday, I spent most of the day by myself, which wasn't great. I probably should have done something that Saturday. But then in the evening, I also went out for some drinks with some strangers, which was also a really nice evening. And that helped a lot. And then by Sunday, I already started feeling a lot better. So maybe that is a good thing that I should be doing more. That I know, okay, if I leave one place and I have a couple days where I'm on my own and I have to kind of rebuild, to also actively do that and plan some things to take my mind off of it. So maybe take a day trip somewhere or sign up to a tour or an event or an activity or whatever it is that is available. Because yeah, sitting by myself in that Airbnb, that wasn't the best plan. I caught with a friend. I went for a walk. I got myself a nice drink. I finally had matcha again. I miss that so much. I had two really good matchas. Whatever it was to kind of make myself feel a bit better. That was really nice. It's probably also just because the guy dropped me off and I just spent a month with him and it just sucked saying goodbye. And I'm not exactly sure when we're going to see each other again. He said he wanted to come and visit me here because Matera isn't that far from Mostuni. But let's see, right? I mean, we're only dating. He's still a man, so I don't want to get my hopes up. Who knows how that goes? Haven't heard from him much this weekend, so there's that. But yeah, all of that is just, I hate it. I hate dating. I think that's the conclusion. But yeah, I think that's good to know. These feelings, they come and go. And I also know that they happen when I am in one place. I remember when I lived in Munich, in Germany, I had all these routines, right? I had my apartment, I had my friends, I had a boyfriend at the time. My routine was very similar. And even then, there were days where I was sad and I felt lonely and I felt off and I had no motivation and I didn't feel so good. Those days happen with any lifestyle, I would say. I think even having this lifestyle for me makes them almost more manageable, because I can see it from weeks away when they're going to happen. When I leave here in 6 weeks, that's what's going to happen. The only thing different then is that I'm going to go back to the Netherlands. So I'm immediately surrounded by friends and family. So it's not going to hit me as hard. But say after this experience here, I would have gone somewhere else in Italy or anywhere else in Europe. I know that for the first 2 days, I'm not going to be very happy, and I'm going to be a bit sad that I've just left that place and have to start again. And it's going to be weird being on my own again. I know. While if when I was in Munich for the year and a half I lived there, it kind of hit me a bit more random, or after just a couple really busy days, and it was all a bit messy. And then I was like, but I've got everything I'm supposed to want here, though. I've got the apartment, I've got the boyfriend, I've got the friends, great routine, I'm going to the gym, I'm taking care of myself. Why do I then still feel sad? While when I'm traveling, sometimes those feelings hit me and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, though. It makes a lot of sense. So maybe I'm actually also just being a bit nicer to myself when traveling sometimes. I'm like, oh, but it's been so busy and it's been rough and you have to start again and you're alone. So you're allowed to feel a bit shit today, and to get an extra dessert and do something nice and call a friend. While when I was back in Munich, I was like, but I've got everything I'm supposed to want, so I shouldn't be sad, or there's no reason to. So it's probably just got nothing to do with traveling. It's just about being nice to yourself, which is your reminder, by the way, to be nice to yourself. Give yourself some slack. Because, yeah, these feelings, I think, happen regardless of what you do, what your life looks like, where you do or don't live, whether you travel a lot or not. And then it's about figuring out what exactly you need to cope with those feelings. And that won't always be the same, but I know for me, like on Saturday, it was not a great day. And I was just sitting behind my laptop and I was like, I can't work, I can't focus, I can't do anything. And then a really good friend of mine called and I was like, okay, this is perfect. Because now, I don't know, she must have just known, right? I don't know. But she called me at the perfect time because I do struggle with reaching out myself. I'm not one to quickly reach out to other people to say, hey, I'm not doing well. So she called me and that was perfect because then while we called, I also went for a walk. So at least I got my steps in for the day. I walked around. I saw some other people. I think I got some food. And that's also when I realized, okay, I do want to go out tonight and not to drink, but just to meet people. Like I didn't have any alcohol that night, but I did want to go and just meet people and be social. And that to me then really helps. Just going for a walk, speaking with a friend. Um, and that's something I just need to do more of then. I know that helps me. I need to go for a walk, have a nice drink, be social. And that's not always easy. There's not always a possibility to be social, but generally I've found something that works. And I think that's all that you need then to know why you feel sad, why you feel off, why it's happening, how you can fix it, what helps you in the moment. And then act on that, which is a lot easier said than done, I know. But yeah, I think that just happens when you travel. But I think that is all I wanted to talk about for today. Just a very quick one, because I've also got another shift I have to do in half an hour. This again, I'm in a work exchange, which I booked through World Packers, which I talked about before. It just means that I get to work here and then stay for free. And I work about 4 to 5 hours a day, and then I've got 2 hours off, which for me is perfect because, of course, I've got my normal work as well. So the days are a bit long, but not too long. The place here is very relaxed. It's very nice. There's 2 other volunteers next to me. We all got our own room. They take care of most of the food. And I get to stay here for free in the south of Italy just to help out a little bit. So I did this morning a little breakfast shift. And then in the afternoon, I've got reception. So today I'm just kind of learning how everything works, where everything is, who everyone is. And then the rest of the couple weeks, I have to do the same thing and just help out. But it's a really nice way to meet people, do something different. Because staying in your own Airbnb for weeks on end, at some point it gets boring too. And then it's just really fun to do these kind of experiences because you get to stay in some very nice places, but they are a bit sometimes more remote. This is not an ad, by the way. I just really like what this place or what this kind of opportunities give you, especially because I know many people that want to travel but say they don't have enough money or are worried about money or worried about going somewhere alone. Then I also think that this is a really great way to still be able to travel. Because again, I stay here for free in exchange for work. So it doesn't cost me anything. I do get to meet a lot of really nice, fun people. I get to help out, do something different. I've personally worked in a lot of hotels, restaurants, but if you haven't, great for some work experience, even. And I would have never come to Ostuni otherwise. So check that out if you want. And maybe this was also something I needed to not now be completely alone. Because again, I almost didn't spend any time this year on my own. I spent 5 months in Peru with my ex, so I wasn't alone ever. Then I spent 3 months in the Netherlands with my family. I was staying at my sister's, so again, I wasn't alone. I went to a co living in Barcelona, so again, a lot with other people. Then a co living in Greece with a lot of other people. Then I spent 2 weeks with a friend in Greece, then a month with the Italian. So I haven't even really had my own Airbnb this year at all, which is usually something I do a lot. Like last year, I had months where I spent alone in my Airbnb. So I was a bit more used to it then, I think, as well. And now I had 44 days on my own in Bari in an Airbnb, and I was miserable. Okay, maybe not miserable, but I was feeling so much more lonely than I have before, and I guess I see now why. I haven't actually spent that much time on my own this year. Also not my own place. So it's probably a really good thing that I booked this. Because if I now had another 5-6 weeks on my own in an Airbnb, depending on the city, of course, but I probably would have felt still quite lonely. While now, whether I want to or not, 5 hours every day, I have to be around people because I have to work and they've got guests that I have to help who so far have been also really nice. So it's probably a good thing. A bit of distraction, forced social life almost, a bit of working. If I'm lucky, the Italian comes and visits me, but if not, that's fine too. So yeah, this is maybe actually exactly what I was supposed to book. Which is another reason I'm actually a really big fan of not planning too much. If I had planned too much, I would not have been able to spend a whole month in Matera with the Italian because then I had already booked something. But now my schedule was free. So when he was like, "Do you want to come visit?" I was like, "Of course." And I could because I didn't have plans. And then when this place reached out and was like, "Hey, we need a volunteer to come and help." I was like, "Great, I don't have any plans yet. Sounds good." So yeah. Okay, that was it for today. Because then I've got still a little bit of time to do some work and then my next shift. Let me know what you think of the episode, if you liked it or not, what your view is on the whole loneliness and saying goodbye to people every time, because I know that that's a big concern. So if you have any questions, any different questions about this or remarks, then let me know. If you want more personal updates on how my life is, then you can ask me anything. I'm going to try and give you guys a bit more updates on that anyway. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and then I really hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.